Invaders today. This is a mini-series from 1993, and with this I have covered all 4 issues of it. I didn't recommend you watch me review of the first one because I talk a lot about diversity in a comic book, and I didn't call him a fake geek girl. I was young and didn't know better. This mini is an enjoyable one. Good creative team. Roger Thomas and Dave Edgar Hoover. And there is a very, very interesting thing with the bad guys. They were not Marvel characters. They were from other companies who went out of business, and so their characters had fallen into the public domain, and Marvel used them here and made them turncoats, made them all into evil Nazis. You might notice one of them who has a substantial amount of appearances after this. And this is going to be the 4th video on this 4-issue mini-series where I complain about those appearances. But the story here is that the evil Nazis, they have captured the Invaders, and they intend to do some evil Nazi plan involving evil Nazi earthquakes. The evil Nazis, they are being assisted by the Golden Age Vision, normally a more heroic character. He is like Marvel's version of Spectre. We have some good writing here where he talks about how the outcome of the war, it doesn't really matter to the continued existence of the human race. The leader of these evil Nazis, he is called Dr. Death, and words cannot express how much this character's subsequent appearances annoy me. Nevertheless, here is a video all about it. This guy, he goes on to join the Excellent Men in the late 2000s. He becomes one of their resident scientists. Bringing this character back, I am fine with. I actually think he has got a good design, and he is the standout character here. But when they bring him back, they completely ignore this story, which was his only continuity. He was an American man who sold out to the evil Nazis. And before that, before he went evil, he was the assistant to the scientist who created the original human fire. Both those parts of his history are totally ignored and never mentioned once. They have him speak of his time in the war as him hunting Nazis. They have him meet Captain America and shake hands with him. And there's just no reference ever to the fact that he was flat out an evil Nazi bad guy. They never mention his connection to the original human fire either. He shares a dozen or so scenes with Seaman, who is in this story, and none of this is ever brought up. Basically, the writer or the editor saw this character's design and thought that it was cool, so added him to the Excellent Men, and then never bothered at any point to look back at the one miniseries that he appeared in before. It annoys me not only because it is disregarding continuity, but there is so much more mileage and depth that you can get out of actually using this stuff. You can have him be redemptive for his actions here. You can have him maybe denying them or lying about them. You can have him have an uneasy relationship with Mr. Magnets, down to his past evil Nazi affiliation. Or you can do something similar with Seaman not forgiving him either. But they just ignored all of this. They weren't aware of it. They really did just see a picture of him and put him on the Excellent Men, and then never bothered to ever look into what his actual history was. Even the stuff with him helping create the original Human Fire, that could have been used somehow. He has history creating one of the Marvel Universe's first artificial intelligences. The Excellent Men are always fighting Centennials and Nimrods and stuff like that. You could use his expertise in that area somehow, but they never did. They didn't know about it. I really find the reintroduction of this character to be among one of the worst offences to continuity around. Taking an obscure character with one appearance, it doesn't mean that he is a blank canvas by virtue of him only having one appearance that you are having to ignore. You really do only have to read one comic to see a multitude of new character traits that you could develop or work into Dr. Death. They had to look at one comic and they decided against that. One of the other baddies here, I suppose this is another part of Dr. Death they ignored. This baddie called Volton, he is like Dr. Death's sequel to the original Human Fire, but he doesn't realise that he is actually a robot. And then in his angst over the discovery of his true nature, Volton accidentally allows Captain America to escape from his prison, and so then he frees the other invaders, and then it is the heroes versus all these public domain evil Nazis. And there's even another thing about Dr. Death they ignored, and I actually forgot about it until I reread this. And that is that after a fight with Captain America and some of the other heroes, Dr. Death, he actually, I thought it was this page, but it is not. Dr. Death, yeah, here we are, up here. Dr. Death, he dies. Volton kills him. It is easy enough to say that he survived. It's not like other comic book characters haven't miraculously returned from death. And to be honest, this is death. It is the least annoying thing to ignore. But I really cannot and I will never forgive the flagrant disregard for continuity when it comes to Dr. Death. There was so little legwork required to properly research this character's past. They didn't even look at a fucking summary of this miniseries. And Dr. Death, him being on The Excellent Men, it always bothered me for that reason. If you're wanting to be lazy, even just say that it is his son or something. It's inexcusable that you use a character with one appearance and ignore every individual thing about that single appearance. The Invaders win, but it is a hollow victory for me because of the Dr. Death thing. We did have an essay here where Roger Thomas, he informs you about the bad guys featured in this and their original publishing history and stuff like that. Quality read, insightful and interesting. Dr. Death though, oh yeah man, it's fucking annoying. I like this miniseries, great artwork, fun story. I like that idea with the baddies being public domain characters. But that Dr. Death thing, it always sticks out and it ruins my enjoyment of this. And it is not this comic's fault at all. I'll give it 7 thumbs up, but maybe years later, they can bring this review back and totally rewrite it and ignore everything I said.